Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. I really appreciate you stopping by to see one of my personal grails. We're going to be looking at a hot toy figure that I had a chance to get back when it first came out. But at the time, I was only collecting Dark Knight figures. And as a matter of fact, I only had two Hot Toys in my total collection. I had the Hot Toys uh, Heath Ledger Joker, and I had the Hot Toys Batman, Christian Bale Batman. And I had them posed, Joker at the interview table, Batman standing behind him, just as it was when Gordon left the room and that interrogation scene started in The Dark Knight. And for me, I at the time, Hot Toys were they're still pricey, but at the time I wasn't making as much money as I am now, and so I didn't really have the disposable income to pick up just Hot Toys as they came out. Not that I have that now. I wish I was able to do that now, but I had to be even more selective back then. So this particular figure was one that I knew was coming out, and if I had the money and if I decided that I was going to expand my collection beyond just the two figures that I had at that time, this would have been the third one that I gotten. But because I wasn't sure where my collection was going, because I was more a collector of 6-inch figures or Marvel Legends or DC Universe figures, I couldn't see myself, I couldn't justify spending that much money on another hot toy when it really didn't fit with the two I already had. Long story, somewhat long, somewhat short. I ended up passing on this figure, and it sold out relatively quickly. I think I went back maybe a year or two later just to see if I was able to get it, and they were sold out. And so I figured that it was probably gone. I probably wouldn't ever have a chance to get it again, and I kind of made peace with that. But in the last 2 or 3 years, as I've gotten into collecting Hot Toys more and more, and as my collection has grown, I've obviously found myself, part of Facebook groups and eBay and the various third-party sellers out there that, offer you a chance to go back and get figures you may have missed on at one point or another. And that brings me to the concept of grails. And it seems to be a lot of people in collectible communities right now are really into the idea of acquiring grails. And for me, a grail has to meet one criteria in particular, but then it can also fit three other criteria. So the one criteria that it has to fit is a grail has to be something that personally means something to you. It has to be a figure, a comic, a collectible that features something that has some personal significance to you. So, for example, maybe if it's a comic book, the first appearance of your favorite character, or it's a comic book you're going back and you're trying to acquire the very first 9.8 of the very first comic book you ever owned, just because that item has that personal significance to you. In the world of Hot Toys, it could be a Hot Toys figure that is of a character that comes from your favorite movie, your favorite character from your favorite movie. Maybe it's for whatever reason you were collecting Hot Toys at the time or whatever, you never had a chance to get this figure, and now you do. And so that would be a grail for you to have and add to your collection. Now, that being said, that's the first criteria that I think is essential to being a grail. There are three other criteria that I think go along with grails, and these can all be included in a grail figure. You can have one of these, and for the most part, you could also have none. I mean, I think that personal impact of the figure is the most important, but the first kind of supplemental criteria that I put on a grail is scarcity. It's usually an item that's hard to come by. It's an item that either wasn't produced in large quantities, or it's an item that's coveted by lots of other collectors, and so you don't see it become available that often, even in like a secondary market. Uh, it's an item, 9 times out of 10, it's an item that's sold out. It's an item that you still can't acquire just through traditional methods. If we're talking about Hot Toys, it's not an item that you can go to Sideshow and still order. The second criteria is that And this goes along with the first criteria. It's an item that is worth quite a bit of money and sells for a lot in the secondary market. Going along with that, obviously scarcity will cause items to go up in value, the law of supply and demand. So the more the item is worth can increase its scarcity and thus make it a grail, make it harder for you to acquire. And the third criteria that I kind of group in with the other two is it's an item that other collectors like to have as well. That kind of goes hand in hand with scarcity. If it's an item that's desired by multiple people, that means that it's going to be harder to get. There's going to be less in the market for you to purchase, and that's going to drive up the price. So scarcity, price, and collectability, those three kind of all go hand in hand. Sometimes it fits all three of these criteria, but for me, the main component is that personal connection. You have to really have a personal tie to that item in some way to elevate it to the status of a grail. Otherwise, it's just a really cool piece to add to your collection. But otherwise, it doesn't have that special meaning to you that elevates it to the status of a grail. Now, for me, this figure is probably my biggest grail. It's something that, as I said in my opening, I would have purchased at the time it was released if I thought I could afford it and if I had the ability to afford it, and I didn't. And I actually ended up spending about twice over retail for this figure, and that's twice over retail for a used version of this figure. To get a new version of this figure, you're looking at paying 3, sometimes 4 times over retail for this particular figure. And I was happy to do so in this case because I felt like I was getting a pretty good deal and because the figure is in excellent condition. There is nothing wrong with the figure. All the pieces and parts were there. So, I was happy to get it for the price I did. If you've watched my other video, my introduction video, you know that this particular movie holds a special place in my heart. It's a figure from the movie that basically kickstarted my fandom. It features my favorite character. The movie was my favorite movie up until The Dark Knight came out. If you haven't pieced together all the clues already, we'll give you a quick shot here of what I'm talking about. And there it is. It's the Batman 1989 figure from Hot Toys, from the much beloved 1989 Batman Tim Burton film, the movie that kind of kicked off my fandom, introduced me to comic books and got me reading comic books, and has kind of shaped much of my life up until this point. I definitely would not be here talking to you right now if I had not gone and seen that movie way back when in 1989. So I'm really happy to have this figure, and we'll jump back over and I'll pull the box up and we'll open it up and give you guys a chance to see what's inside. Okay, so here we go. We've got, the figure's already been out of the box, so I'm going to set him over here while we take a look at the box itself first. One of the things I'm noticing on the box that I've actually never noticed before until I got it under the light here was you've got a picture of the figure right here, Michael Keaton, Batman, but then you've also got a few other kind of very, I don't know what the right word is, very blended, very kind of subtle looks at Batman himself. So here's a picture of Keaton's Batman with his arms extended with the cape out as if he's got the bat wings fully extended. This is more of like a side profile shot of Batman himself, and then you've got those kind of blend seamlessly into the larger profile that's on the front of the box here. I'm going to lift this up and see if I can't get a better look at those shots. So yeah, you've got, and it's very subtle. It's like I said, I had never even noticed it until I got under the lights here. But there you'll see the Batman kind of looking down to the side, and there you'll see him with his arms extended, extending out his cape. It may even have, I don't know, there's something going on back here. I can't tell if that's just part of the larger profile pic or if that's him in front of the Batmobile on that one. So just interesting little details on the box I personally had never noticed. Makes me think that I should be taking a closer look at the other parts of the box. And there on the side it says Batman 1/6 scale collectible figure. At the bottom of the box down here, it does say DX09 just at the bottom there. And then you've got your various Hot Toys information there on the back of the box, all the copyright information. And here's that, you can see it's kind of, I guess with age and time, the paper started to curl and bend, but it's like a advertisement for the upcoming 1/6 scale Batmobile figure, which is pretty cool. I wish I had that as well, but I don't. It does have a magnetic flap here that lifts up, and then the box opens like a book. And you've got this, the yellow is striking. It's this bright, vibrant yellow, the same color as the back of the oval on his bat suit. You've got this little plastic, it's like a decal. It's not a sticker though. It's a transparent window with a bat symbol in it. And again, in the instruction books, they say that you can actually take this. Here, I'll lift it out here and show you guys. You can take that and hold a flashlight to the back of it and shine the light through and make your own bat symbol on a wall or something. So kind of a it's a fun little touch. It doesn't really, I can't say it's a huge deal breaker. Like if they didn't have it, I wouldn't have even noticed or been worried about it at all. So let's see what else is in here. You've got some writing in here, which they don't seem to do on a lot of figures anymore. They don't give like the backstory on the figure. It's basically just the figure itself. So this is a really cool addition that they added inside here. It just says, witnessing his parents being murdered on the streets of Gotham City in his childhood, Bruce Wayne vows to avenge their deaths against crime as a costumed dark vigilante, Batman. Under the control of the Joker criminal empire, Gotham City is full of gloominess and fearfulness. Batman starts his battle against his greatest foe, interfering with his evil plans, ruining his poisoning scheme, and finally eliminating him with his high-tech crime-fighting equipment. Promising to defend Gotham, he will appear whenever the bat signal shows up high in the sky. And then at the bottom here it says Batman 1/6 scale collectible figure. So this was, you know, only the DX09. I'm pretty sure that signifies that this was only the 9th DX figure that they had done. So it looks like they were, Hot Toys was not as big of a name as it is today back when this figure originally came out. So this is the cover piece that goes over the figure itself. It's got a nice styrofoam backing to keep the figure safe. You've got this really thick, nice silhouette styrofoam box here that the figure actually sits down inside. When the figure's in here, he doesn't have the cape on. The cape is a separate piece that you have to attach later. And that's one of the reasons that I didn't take the figure apart and put it all back together to do this unboxing, just because I don't want to put that wear and tear, that extra wear and tear on taking the head off the figure, taking the cape off, risking tearing the cape and things like that. But you guys get a great sense of the way it works here. The figure sits down here without his cape. This is actually a molded piece of plastic. It's really tiny, really skinny plastic that just sits over the character's head to protect the head. In the box here. You've also got your 2 interchangeable face plates here. I really like the way they did these because these actually come with a full cowl headpiece. The only piece that swaps out is the actual faceplate, but they give you an entire cowl piece for the faceplate to set on, so it looks like, you know, its own Batman headpiece, head sculpt there, which is, you know, obviously it's just plastic, so you don't get the detail of the eyes and things like that. But they could have just, you know, set these in here. Oh, look at that one. That one, I see I hadn't even gotten these out yet. That magnet, the glue has come off of the back of this magnet. I'm going to have to get some glue and repair that one. But So what happens to figures after almost 10 years of sitting and being laying around? Sometimes that glue breaks down, so you've got these to just sit on top here. We'll take a closer look at those face plates in a little bit here, but you've got one on this side and then you've got one on this side. This is the more battle damaged version over there. It's got some blood paint work on it and stuff. So, and then this entire tray lifts out. This is all just one big styrofoam piece that sits in there. And then underneath you've got your tray with all his accessories and your instruction booklet. So I'm going to get these parts put back in here and moved out of the way, and I'll be back in just a minute. Let me get all this set off to the side so we can have a nice clean surface to look at these. Okay, so I've got the stuff ready to kind of pull out one by one here. This tray right here would have been the cape. The cape would have been wrapped in a bag with this and then folded over on top of itself with this inside to help keep the shape. So that's where the cape sits when you first get the figure out of the box if it was new. You've got this piece that will clip on to his wrist. This is the gauntlet that he uses that shoots the lines out. They shot them side to side when he rescues Vicky Vale from the Joker in the art museum, and this would shoot out his lines and then he'd slide down the lines this way before he kicking open the doors, and Jack Nicholson says the iconic, "Get those wonderful toys." I did get the kind of face sculpts out there, the mask sculpts. I'll try and give you guys a good look at those. This is obviously the bloody one. This is kind of Batman confronting the Joker after he's run through his gauntlet of thugs on the roof of the church at the end of the movie. And you'll see you've got blood dripping down. These are really nice, really good paint apps. It's amazing. You wouldn't think that you would... I don't know. I personally just wouldn't think that the facial features of a person would be enough to identify him just from the lower, lower half, lower third of their face. But to me, these small little, just bottom half of Michael Keaton's face, the lips, the cheeks, the chin, they all just look like Michael Keaton so well. I think they're spot on representations of him. So that's the battle damage one. And then if I bring, this is the one where the magnet has come off the back of this one, but this is just kind of the more stern, stoic looking Batman face. But this, I mean, even on this flimsy plastic kind of de facto Batman head sculpt, I still can see Michael Keaton in that really well. I'm just really impressed with the way that they managed to pull that off and pull off his likeness with so little of his actual face to work with. So there are those. You also have, of course, the iconic Batman Batarang. Let's see if we can get that a little closer, get a little better look at that. It's a really nice piece. It's got pretty sharp edges on it, actually, to be honest. It's also got these, just the slightest hint of silver coloring on the tips of it. I'm not sure if that's going to show up real well. And then the rope that it comes with, that you can kind of pretend that Batman has rappelling up a wall or through a skylight with. This actually comes detached and just sits loose in this section of the tray here, but because again this is a used figure, this one had been pieced together so far, so it's already got his rope attached to it there. There are some pieces, this is the instruction booklet, and honestly I'm going to need to look through this because there are some pieces in here I'm not exactly sure what they go to. Okay, so if you want to get him in his iconic Batman wing spread pose right before he grabs the thug off the roof at the beginning of the film and says, "I'm Batman," it looks like you have posts that go into his hands and then extend out the length of his cape to keep the cape extended. And that's what these two posts are here. There's two long posts that sit in there, and you use these to stick into the out the ends of the capes to keep the cape extended to get that pose pulled off. There's also a small little staff looking piece that I'm not exactly sure where it goes. It may just be an extra piece, I don't know, but in with the rope there was this tiny little staff piece, and if anybody knows what this is, I'd love for you to clue me in. If you can drop a comment down in the comment section, just let me know if that is anything, or if that was maybe a piece of something else that may have broken off. I don't know. Okay, this is the, I don't know how many of you are, how familiar you are with the movie, but you worry about if Batman's going to be able to take care of this guy, and all he does is he sticks his palm out, and this piece juts out from his palm and hits the guy right in the face, knocking him out. It's a great scene. So there are 3 of these little, well, I can't find the third. There were 3. The third must have fallen. I'll have to look for the third one a little closer. But these little capsules, I think I read somewhere that these are supposed to be like smoke bombs or something. I'm fairly confident, after having seen the movie probably well over 100 times, that those never did appear in the actual film. He does drop a smoke bomb when he is escaping from Apex or Acme Chemicals, and I don't think that they actually show it. I think his hand goes up and he throws something down and it breaks, but I don't know. It may have been those. I'll have to pause that scene and see if I can get a closer look. This is one of the shooting mechanisms for his grappling gun that comes with it. And then you've got, oh, here's the other smoke bomb. It popped over into this tray up here. So you do get 3 of those. They're all the same. You've got, let me tip this over and just get these pieces out here. It's really, the trays are nice. It's nice that they have compartments for all the different items that are in here. It is a little hard to get your hands down in there. It's almost like you need a pair of tweezers to really get in there and get the things out without just dumping everything out. This is the instructions that I was talking about, where they show you can take that little translucent piece from the front of the box off and create your own bat signal with. So then you've got, this is his, okay, this is really cool. It's got the bat, I don't know if that's going to show up real well, but it's got actually the bat symbol on it right there. Very cool, in silver. And then it's got a little speaker there. It's got a little speaker on the back. It does not slide up and down, but this is the device that he pulls out. I'm 99% sure that this is the device he pulls out after he is dispatched of the ninja thugs and the ones that the Joker's thugs that were chasing him and Vicky Vale into the alley. And he makes the joke about her weight. He goes and he recalls the Batmobile, and the Batmobile comes racing towards him, and he holds the device up and says, "Stop." And when he says stop, the Batmobile is flying towards him super fast and stops on a dime right in front of him without hitting him. So this, I believe, is that device that he holds up and talks into, his remote control for the Batmobile. And then you've got 2 like ninja shuriken ninja star things that come with the figure. Again, having seen the film well over 100 times, these don't show up in the movie. I'm not sure if they were supposed to have shown up at some point, if Hot Toys just felt like, hey, we need to have a few more accessories, but you get 2 of these. I would have preferred maybe a few more batarangs. But they are what they are. It's an extra accessory. It's, I guess, nice to have. You've got your instruction book, obviously, which we leafed through for a minute there. And then you've got this. I'm not sure what this is. I don't know if it's like a device that's used to measure chemicals or if it's like a remote bomb. I don't remember this being used in the film either. But you've got another little back gadget, one of his wonderful toys that comes with it. So there are all your accessories there. Let's get this out of the way. We're gonna move these for a second. And then the one last thing we need to look at is the base that comes with it. I'm really impressed with this base. There isn't a whole lot to it. It's just a black base, but it's got the Batman logo in stark bright yellow against the black background, which is kind of a flip of the way it is on the bat suit originally. Usually the bat's black and the background's yellow, but this is a nice kind of just different look to it that it has. There are two lights that are on it. There's one here and one here. This one I noticed is loose, so I'm not sure if this light even works anymore. You've got the Batman MMS DX plate, nameplate right there, and then the crotch grabber piece right there for the figure to stand on. Your switch to turn the lights on and off is right there. I turned it on and they're not coming on. So I'm assuming that these lights, because of the age of this figure, that these lights don't work anymore. But I'll get this back plate off. There's the back plate, the screw that you need to take out and remove this centerpiece to put the batteries in and see if it works. So I'll get those switched out and see if that works. But finally, we can move on to the figure himself. And there he is. The cape is it's like a leathery type material. You know, for the age of this figure, I'm going to have to look up exactly when this figure was released. I feel like it was released in around 2010 or so. So for that age, I think the cape is held up remarkably well. There isn't any of that kind of flaking that you'll sometimes see on leathery material or figures that have that leather type material on there. It's in very good condition. The inside of it has almost a shinier, like vinyl look to it. Does a really nice job of catching light. If you've got the figure draped over him here, you'll even get some reflections off the inside of the figure. So I think he looks, you can get the cape to lay pretty well. I'm obviously holding it down right here, but you can get it to lay. This is one of the most iconic Batman poses I think there is, of the cape draped over his shoulders. And I think that looks just really good. As far as the figure itself, we'll give you a look. There's the head sculpt right there. Just a really good recreation of Michael Keaton's head and face, and the Batman cowl. The ears look perfect, great length on those. The cowl itself has the I forget what they call this but the pointed, the scalloped, I believe it's called scalloped. It's got the scalloped look here where it kind of comes all the way around with these points, and then you've got the bat symbol in front there. So that's just a really awesome cowl. Obviously matches the movie perfectly. Again, the facial sculpt there, the Michael Keaton look on that face is just, for again, being only the bottom half of his face, I think that's just an amazing facial sculpt. The suit itself is a rubbery material. Over time, you may run into some issues with the rubber maintaining creases, but I have had them in a couple different poses, and when you put them back in the museum pose, it does over time kind of work itself out. The other nice thing is it's black, so even if there are some creases, which this one appears to have some creasing stuck in it, you just don't really notice it on the shelf. All that black kind of blends in together. The back of it is interesting. It's got this, let's see if the light will catch and show. It's got these ridges in the back, and I'm not sure if that's just to help the plastic maintain its shape or its form in the back there. I'm not really sure that the costume itself, from the film, we never really get a good look at the back of the costume. So I'm not sure what that's about. But again, with the cape on, with it down around his back, you never see this part. So I don't even know that it's that big a deal. Same goes with the rear here. You've got this odd kind of dip right around where his butt starts. And I'm not sure that, I think that may just be to provide some ability to move the legs and move the waist without ripping the seam there on the bottom part of this. And again, with the cape on, you never see that, so that's not that big of a deal. As far as the legs go, you've got some piping going down the back of the legs and before it joins in with the boots here. So just, you know, classic black. The belt is done very well. So all in all, the back looks just fine, but here's the part that you really care about, and that's of course the front of the figure. The muscles that are in here, the molding of the muscles and the chest and the abs just looks phenomenal. It looks exactly like it does in the film. You've got his arms and his gauntlets here. The gauntlets do rotate, so you can rotate them all the way around. They're a separate piece. Obviously, you kind of want them in line with his fist here so that it lines up properly. There is a slight gap right here. You can see it there between the gauntlet and the hand. If I pull this, yeah, the gauntlet really doesn't come down. It comes down a little bit there. That closes it up a little bit, but it's still there a little bit. It hides it a little bit, but it's still a little visible. Not the worst thing in the world. Oh, and it slides right off. That comes off very easily, in case you were wondering. Get that slid back on there. Get his hand pushed back in. The underside of the glove is very cool. You've got the, what is this called? Just kind of the textured knit of the glove that gives him a little more grip on the underside of the glove. This hand over here, you've got the same thing. He's got an open hand over here, so that's pretty cool. This gauntlet is the same as the other one. And then you've got the belt piece that comes together. This is the one accessory that I didn't have in the box. It came on the figure, and so I've just left it on the figure. But it's the grappling hook that goes on the grappling gun. The grappling gun is supposed to, there's a magnet in it, and it's supposed to set right next to the grappling piece, just as it was in the film. However, the magnet is not very strong, and anytime you kind of get him upright, unless that magnet is in an exact perfect position, it does not hold. So I have not kept that piece on there very much. But there you go. You got a good look at the boots there. They look phenomenal. There's a look at the... Now, the one thing about the boots from the film is they were actual Nikes, and I don't see a Nike swoosh on these. Let's see if we can get any light to show. Yeah, there's no Nike swoosh on them, that's for sure. So you got some texture there on the bottom of the boots, which is a nice little touch. So I think it's a great figure. I think it looks absolutely phenomenal. It's an older figure, and it really, to me, it doesn't even show its age that much. We'll go over some articulation real quick. The head being kind of stuck in the cowl, just as he was in the movie, you can't really turn the head much. And as soon as you do, you'll see if you try and turn the head, it's going to shift this bat symbol. And so that's going to put it off center, and it's not going to look exactly right. Which is fine, because in the movie, he couldn't move his head either. If you go back and rewatch, you'll see every time Michael Keaton has to look to his side, he turns his entire body to look to the side, because his cowl was so rigid that it kept his head just stuck straight. Obviously, they've made improvements to that design over the years, and Christian Bale was able to move his head, and Ben Affleck in the subsequent movies was able to move his head just fine. So not much movement with the head there. The arms can kind of come up to the side, but with the rubbery suit, you'll see it stretch right there. You see this, and then it just naturally wants to pull the arm back down. So you've only got a slight bit of movement, kind of from there to about there. And that's, so it's not a very wide area that you can move the arm in because of just the nature of the material that's used. He can lift his arms up a little bit to about there. Then they go back down. You have some bend in the waist. It doesn't seem like it's a ratcheted waist bend, and then you do get kind of some folding up of the rubber suit there when you bend him in like that. His legs do move up, but again, with the suit, this is going to be the limitation of this figure in this suit, is that anytime you try and put him into a different pose, the suit's going to just jump him right back into the standard pose. His feet are articulated. They can turn side to side. That's actually, the whole boot turns side to side. But you can get some bend out of them there and get them into slightly different positions. Overall, if you want him to stand on his own, oh, there, his whole leg just came off there. If you want to get him to stand on his own, you can. And it's because of the ability to subtly move the various parts of the foot and the body. But you're not going to get this figure into very many crazy poses. You're kind of going to be stuck with kind of that museum pose for the most part, which is fine. That's the only reason, the only way I was going to, I've had him and will have him displayed for the most part. So we'll get back and give my overall final impressions and wrap it up. And that'll do it for our look at the 1989 Batman from Hot Toys. I love the figure. It's exactly what I kind of hoped to get from the figure. You know, if you know the movie, you know that there weren't any crazy stunts Batman was doing. It's not like Batman got into any Spider-Man poses. You know, Michael Keaton, as we referenced when we were looking at the figure, had to turn his whole body just to look from side to side because of the limitations of the cowl and the way the suit was constructed. So it makes sense that the actual Hot Toy figure itself would have a lot of those same limitations. I'm super happy I have the figure. As I've mentioned multiple times, the movie was so influential to me, really crafted and set me on this path of comic book and movie and pop culture fandom that I've been on most of my life. And because of that influence that it's had over my life, it definitely is my Grail piece. This was, you know, when I started really expanding my Hot Toy collection, this was the piece that was always at the top, that I was always looking for, always thinking, you know, if I ever see it, if I ever have the opportunity to get it. You know, obviously there are financial limitations that you have to take into consideration. Sure, if I wanted to, I could have gone out and spent probably 4 times retail and probably gotten maybe a brand new one. But taking those financial limitations into account, this was the one that I was like, if I ever saw it, even if it was going to push the budget some, I needed to pick it up. I needed to have it in my collection. And I'm so happy I do. I think it looks great on my shelf. And it just gives me a sense of completeness to my collection because the movie was so important to me. So if you're a fan of the movie, if you know, if Batman 89 has much impact on your life as it did on mine, I would recommend wholeheartedly going out and tracking down this figure and getting one for yourself. It'd be great if maybe down the line they re-released the figure and gave more people an opportunity to have it. Maybe even upgrade the suit a little bit, make it so that the rubber isn't quite so restrictive in some of the movements, allow Batman to really get his arms up in a little better position, get his legs out in front of him a little bit more. I can't imagine trying to fit this figure into the 1/6 scale Batmobile that they released for it. But, you know, those limitations aside, it's a great figure. I really love having it. So that'll do it for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your guys' time. If you get a chance, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the figure. Let me know what you think of these reviews. You know, are you enjoying them? Is this something, you know, you think I'm getting better at? Are there things that I need to be doing differently? And, you know, if you do like the videos, I would always appreciate that thumbs up. It, you know, helps get this channel out to maybe more people that might be interested that don't, haven't quite found us yet. So, and with that, I'll sign off. Take care, and we'll see you next time.